Again, thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you.
I do not take lightly all what you've said. We need to be alert because we are being lulled. My dander comes up when I hear from our constituents, what's a good tax? Is it a fair tax or a flat tax?
Well,
we're being dumbed down. There is no, cut the spending. There's no tax. We're taxed out of, no. We have to be alert.
Amen. Well, let me say this. Absolutely, we need to cut spending. We don't. The problem is government is drunk with spending more and more and more. And as a matter of fact, when they talk about reducing the budget, all they're doing is cutting the rate of growth, making it grow a little slower. But actually, our tax code is way too high. We have about the highest corporate rate in the world. That's why so many businesses are going overseas, because of the overtaxation in this country. Certainly we need either a fair tax or a flat tax. Will be a vast improvement with what we have in America, and with that we could eliminate the IRS, just throw those bums out and have a very small group that will manage a very simple tax code.
Amen.
So now we got to make sure, you see, with a fair tax, the danger with those politicians in Washington, the fair tax is a consumption tax. The only way the consumption tax will work is if you throw out the tax code. You have to eliminate the IRS and throw out the tax code, because otherwise what they will do is put the consumption tax on top of what we got. Right. So we got to eliminate the IRS before we put a consumption tax. But either a consumption tax or a flat tax will be great, because then everybody pays into a system.
Amen.
Everybody's got to have skin in the game. Right. There was a question over here.
I thank you too for being here.
Thank you, sir.
And I tried to listen carefully, but what I would like for you to expand upon, because this is, I think, the most serious thing, like the Black Brigade. Could you describe maybe how many thousands of pastors have been put in jail for speaking up?
0.
Or can you tell me, go through baby steps? What should a pastor do to really do what you think God's calling him to do?
Okay, let me just give you a quick answer and then an expanded answer. The quick answer, what does a pastor need to do? Stop hiding behind the pulpit. Now, let me give you an expanded answer. In 1954, do some of you remember when Lyndon Johnson was senator from Texas?
Yes.
Let's say that when Lyndon Johnson was senator from Texas, he had a rather creative way of getting votes. And because of that, a couple of Baptist organizations challenged him. In retaliation to that, Lyndon Johnson decided to attack religion by imposing an amendment to the 501c3 ruling of the IRS. That amendment was passed as a rider to an appropriations bill. It was never even discussed. It passed under the radar. The 501c3 Johnson Amendment says the following: no 501c3 organization can speak either in favor or in opposition about any candidate for public office. The net effect of the Johnson Amendment was to put fear in the church and to cause the church to not address anything to do with the public domain. But I'll tell you, all the Johnson Amendment talked was about talking in favor or against a candidate for public office. Now, in 2008, Pastor Jim Garlow from California, he founded an organization called Alliance Defending Freedom. And Pastor Jim Garlow said the following: all right, he said to some pastors, why don't we pick a Sunday in October and let's preach on politics. But actually, let's go beyond that. Let's clearly violate the Johnson Amendment. I want you to get on the pulpit and endorse a candidate by name, and then let's go one step further. Make a recording of your preaching and send it to the IRS. Let's challenge them. 2008, 30 churches did it. 2009, 80 churches. 2010, 100 churches. 2011, 536 churches. 2012, over 1,600 churches. 2013, I don't have the numbers, but it was well over 1,000. You know how many churches the IRS has come against? 0. It is a paper tiger because the Johnson Amendment is unconstitutional, as far as my consideration, on 2 counts. It violates freedom of expression, and it violates the free exercise clause of the First Amendment. So it is an unfounded fear. And as a matter of fact, my biggest accolade in life would be to one day hear my master say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." We better be concerned about pleasing God instead of pleasing man. And so I think we have a mandate to be light and salt, not to hide behind the pulpit. As a matter of fact, Jesus said, you cannot hide the light under a bushel. And he also said, shout it from the housetops. I don't see too many pastors shouting it from the housetops. I hope we can encourage more and more to do so. There was another question. Yes.
Hi, I am having a problem getting through with the apathy with the people that I'm trying to reach, especially the Hispanics. Can you give me some pointers?
Okay, let me say this. Apathy is a great problem, but let me tell you something positive that is happening. For example, let me make a statement. The biggest blessing to the conservative movement has been Obamacare. Obamacare is the gift that keeps on giving. Obamacare is such a disaster that is awakening a lot of people across America. Let me give you some very encouraging statistics. Among the under 25, which was the group that as a bloc helped put Obama in power, there has been a 17-point shift towards conservatism. That's huge, because you know what? All of a sudden the young people realize that they are the patsies for Obamacare. They're the ones who are supposed to be footing the bill for people my age. And you know, they are waking up. Now, concerning your second question, first of all, let me say this. It is about time that we stop talking about hyphenated Americans. Whether it is Hispanic Americans or African Americans, we're all Americans. All of us are Americans. And we need to stop pandering with hyphenated names. Hyphenated Americans, which the administration always uses, they use it for one reason and one reason only, and that's to divide us. It's a divide and conquer policy. And let me tell you something. Whether it is Hispanic Americans or African Americans or Asian Americans, we all want the same thing: jobs and opportunity. What we want is to be able to find a job, to be able to achieve the American dream. I don't think anybody in America wants to live on a handout.
No.
But that's what this administration is trying to do, trying to create a culture of dependency. Because all of a sudden, what does a culture of dependency do? You see, the thing is, we need to be able to articulate what that does. That is not a guaranteed utopia. That is guaranteed mediocrity. Amen. What we need to sell is the American dream. We live in the greatest country on the face of the earth. We live in a country where, with hard work and perseverance, you can achieve your dreams no matter how big your dreams are. Amen. And if we do that, nobody's going to want to be kept down by dependency. Amen. Let me tell you, it's just like feeding the poor. Feeding the poor has never gotten anybody out of poverty. What we need to do is teach the poor how not to be poor.
Amen.
Give them an opportunity to learn how to fish instead of just giving them a fish. We need to help people. We need to, the thing that this administration has done that is so contrary to our tradition. Welfare is supposed to be something for a very limited time to help you come out of that situation.
Right.
But what this administration wants to do is keep you in that situation. That's why we have now 2 years of unemployment, and they want to extend it even more, where people don't even want to get a job. As a matter of fact, now they're saying that it is liberating not to have a job, because now you can pursue the arts, smell the flowers. But the problem is they are smelling the flowers with my tax dollars and your tax dollars. We need to give those people an opportunity to rise up the economic ladder. That's how we attack poverty, not by giving a handout, because you give them a plate of food today, they're going to be hungry tomorrow. So we better teach them how to earn the money not to be hungry tomorrow. We got to go beyond just trying to put a Band-Aid on cancer. We got to create the economic climate, the economic opportunity, so that they can rise above their situation. So, to answer more specifically your questions, it is a lie that to talk to Hispanics you have to talk about amnesty.
Amen.
Let me tell you, the only Hispanics that are in favor of amnesty are the illegals.
Right.
You talk to Hispanics, you talk to African Americans, you talk to anybody else, what do they want? They want the opportunity to work, to make a good living, to be able to provide for their family, and to be able to rise up the economic ladder. Every American is the same. We need to stop dividing us with hyphenated Americans. We all need to work shoulder to shoulder to make this country again that shining city on a hill. I think there was a question over here somewhere. Yes?
Mr. Cruz, we appreciate you being here today. What are your thoughts, and if you want to talk anything about the movement of Mark Levin's book on the Liberty Amendment for states, or the constitutional convention, not constitutional convention, to amend the Constitution in order to rein in the government?
Well, Mark Levin I consider Mark Levin one of the foremost scholars on the Constitution, a brilliant man, a very strong constitutional conservative, and certainly the concept of a states convention is a very appealing concept. My only reservation is, can we keep it under control to where it wouldn't get out of hand? And that's the challenge that we need to make sure that we don't just open up a can of worms that it cannot be controlled. Yeah, we have to be careful. I think the idea, and it's Article 5 of the Constitution, it gives us the opportunity to do something from the state side, but we also cannot have a situation where our Constitution that has served us for over 200 years, because I believe was conceived by inspiration of God. We cannot just throw the Constitution away. What we need to do is obey the Constitution. What we need to do is have the government uphold and work within the limits of the Constitution. Today, we have a government that tramples on the Constitution on a daily basis. Yeah, so, if we just work within the Constitution, we'll be in great shape. But look what our president says. I have a pen and I have a phone. And forget the Constitution, forget separation of powers, and he's acting like a tyrant, just like Harry Reid acts like a tyrant, and basically throws away over 200 years of our tradition of upholding the law.